welcome back to your channel today. Now for today's soap, I'm going to make a very gentle soap. I'm going to use my Cancer Warrior recipe. The recipe is in the description box with a link to Soapmaking Friend. So if you click on the Soapmaking Friend link in there, it will take you directly to my public recipe, and you can tweak it and change it around the way that you like it there. Now I'm going to add some herbs to this recipe of mine. I've got this client for quite a while, and I've been making this recipe for a very long time. That is uncolored and unscented, because she's got very sensitive skin, eczema, lots of issues there. But I've never added herbs to it, but I did buy some herbs about a week ago for something else. So I do have quite a bit of them in hand. I sometimes do grow my own herbs. I dry them. Here in the corner, I've got a drying system here. So some of it, I've got some lemon peel here, hibiscus. So I've got different kinds of herbs that I do grow as well. But these guys that I'm going to use today, I bought it. Okay, regarding herbs and all other kinds of nice stuff in soap, there's a little bit of a controversy between people, because some people will tell you that it is a wash-off product, so it doesn't stay long enough on your skin to be of any beneficial value. Other people will tell you that all of the goodness will be destroyed the moment that you add lye to it. Now, I do not test my soap, so I do not know how much of the goodness actually comes through into soap. And the other thing is, I don't know how much actually into your body when you're using soap, because it's a wash-off product. But then in the same breath, the people that will tell you that none of the goodness is going to come through and it's a wash-off product, don't even bother doing it. It's the same people that tell you don't use shop-bought soap because there's parabens and all kinds of stuff in it, which is also wash-off products or in a wash-off product. So they're talking about out of two voices. The one tells you that, it's a wash-off product, no goodness can come from it. And the same voice tell you, the same wash-off product, don't use it because there are bad things in it and you can absorb it into your skin. So for me, I like to use my herbs. Even if it's just a placebo effect, if it works for people, use it. If you just like to use it, enjoy yourself. That's part of soap making, is to try new things and just enjoy yourself with it. So let's see what herbs I've got here. I've got stinging nettle here. Now, stinging nettle is an anti-inflammatory herb. They drink it for lots of different ailments and so on. But in soap making, they say it can help with eczema, and it does have an anti-inflammatory part in it, so it does help for inflammation. Then I've got the Fumatory herb here as well. Now, they use it as poultices on skin. It helps for acne when you use it as a poultice. So in soap making, I don't know how much that's going to help you at all, but it's also an anti-inflammatory, and I've decided to add some of that as well. Then I've got my white sage. Now, white sage, I use it in everything. Smudge sticks, herbal smokes for people. I use it in tea. I drink it in tea. It's awesome for toothache. If you've got toothache, I usually make a little bit of sage tea, then I will just swish it in my mouth and even swallow it if it's not too warm. So sage tea is one of those lovely herbs that you can use for a lot of stuff. Now, it's also anti-inflammatory. It's high in vitamin A. They say that it can actually boost collagen production in your skin. So I'm adding white sage as well here. Now, how do you add it to your soap? You can infuse it in your oils. I'm usually not that good with planning ahead, so I will wake up one morning and decide I want to make this soap, and then I can't infuse something for 8 hours or 6 weeks, whichever method you use. So I like to use tea. So this is my little teapot. It is a lovely little thing here. If you open it up, it's got a little stainless steel sieve in here. So all that you do is you just add your herbs to it. What I've done is I've added 1 teaspoonful of each one of these, then filled it with boiling water. I closed it up, and what I do is I prefer to steep it overnight. I will cover my little, this is for soap making. For drinking, you steep it for 5 minutes or so, but for soap making, I cover it with a towel, insulate it a little bit, and then I will let it stand overnight. So that is what I have done here. Let's just get all these little boxes out of the way here. Yeah, and the little teapot as well. Now I've got my steeped and cooled down tea here. Now this is the important part, because if you are making tea from your herbs and you add your sodium hydroxide directly to it, it's going to volcano, because your tea is then still very hot. So I cool them down overnight. So I've got very cool tea here. Let's see what is room temperature here. It's 16 degrees Celsius in my house, so it's not too cold. It's actually quite comfortable in here. Then I've got my oils. Now the recipe, as I already said, is in the description box. Just to give you an idea, it is 80% olive oil, and then I've got 17% coconut oil, and then 3% castor oil. So this is not a very long lasting soap. It is a very moisturizing, conditioning soap. It's do have a little bit of bubbly. The reason why I add a little bit of coconut oil to it, so this is basically a Bastille soap. The reason for the coconut oil is just to combat that sliminess from 100% olive oil soap, because olive oil soap tend to have that stickiness and sliminess to it, except if you cure it for a year and don't have the patience for that. So I've got my oils here already melted down. I've got my tea solution here, and I weighed out my caustic soda. Let's just gear up in our safety gear. I've got long sleeves for a change, eh? So now I'm actually properly geared the way I'm supposed to teach here, not the way that I usually do it with short sleeves. I like to tuck my sleeves inside my gloves. There we go. And we're just going to add the sodium hydroxide to the tea that has been cooled down. And you stand back, because while it's still milky, it will give off fumes, and it's really not good to breathe it in. My ventilation in here ain't too bad, so it should dissipate quite quickly. Now, if you would like to use herbs in your soap, there are so many to choose from, really. It is unbelievable. If you only just walk through your garden, there's most probably going to be something that you can use there. I've got aloe vera in my garden, so sometimes I just juice the aloe vera and use that as my liquid. I've got bulbinella in my garden. There is a prickly pear. You actually need to cut it in little squares, add some water, boil it, and you make a decoction from your prickly pear leaves. That's got a little bit of sugar, I think, in the leaves, because it just results in this lovely bubbly soap, and there's just these increased bubbles. So for me, I really do like that. There it starts to glow clear, so the fumes should be less now, but it will be still very, very hot. Now for this recipe, I've used a 1:1 lye to water, it's a 1:2 lye to water solution, so it's 1 part lye and 2 parts water. So the people that works in percentages, that is 33,3333%. This is for me a very all-purpose amount of liquid to use in soap. If you don't know how, if you have got a new recipe, 1 to 2 is a good place to start with, because if you don't know how fast it's going to trace, maybe if it traces too fast, then 1 to 1 is going to just speed things up a little bit more. If it's a very slow tracing recipe, or it can maybe even make soda ash, then you don't really want to use more than 1 to 2. 1 to 2 is a very good mid-range to use for soap making. Okay, so for those of you guys that do not own a thermometer, you don't need a thermometer to make soap, but it does make life a little bit easier. Now for me, I melted these down in the microwave. Now I've got a little bit insulating gloves on now, so it will insulate a little bit, but I can feel this is quite cool. It's not warm anymore. Now warm is when you hold a cup of coffee and it is comfortably lukewarm. Then it's round about 40 degrees, between 40 and 60 degrees Celsius. Now that's a good place to start with your soap making. Now for this one, it's 44 degrees Celsius because it's to the cooler side. If you hold your container and you can feel the warmth coming through, this one is still coming through quite a lot. So I think I'm starting to get a little bit better at the guessing stage. The warmer temperatures I still guess, I missed the guess on that, but at the lower temperatures I can just pick up my bowl and then I know what is the temperature of it. This one, I believe it will still be more than 70 degrees Celsius. It still feels very, very warm. Now it's 85 degrees. So you're just going to leave them to cool down a little bit. So I'm just going to leave it for a while and then I will come back to you and we will make the soap and pour it, and then we will do the cut a little bit later. Okay, and we are back. This is now around about 58 degrees Celsius. This one is 41 degrees Celsius. I usually just let my oils and my lye cool to below 60 degrees Celsius. Then I know it should not volcano. The reason why people tend to say you need to get them as close as possible to the same temperature is that when you add them together, you know that the temperature is not going to be above 60 degrees Celsius, or because if you use the one very much warmer than the other one, you don't really know what temperature you're going to end up. Now the reason is you don't want it too warm, but for me, I've used this method plenty of times already, so it works quite well for me. I just make sure that they are lukewarm to the touch. This one is actually much cooler. This one is around about a cup of coffee with some milk in it, to give you an idea if you do not have a thermometer. So I'm just going to add this to my oil. I'm not going to scent it and I'm not going to color it with any colorants as well. Now the history of my Cancer Warrior soap is when I was still working at CANSA. We tend to tell our people that are taking chemo and treatments and radiation treatments, do not use this, do not use that. And then one day the lady told me, now you know them are not allowed to use anything. What's the alternatives? And I realized that there ain't really many alternatives without parabens and sulfates and fragrances and synthetic colorants and so on, because everything irritates the skin. So I told her, you know, don't fear, I will make you a soap. So I sat down and I tried to get a very gentle soap. Now usually 100% olive oil works well, but 100% olive oil you need to cure for a very long time, at least about a year. And it still tends to be slimy. I don't like the feel of Castille soap. Castille soap is just slimy to me. I use it in a tube soap that I make for myself, but that's about as far as we go. So I just decided to tweak a little bit, and I must say that a little bit of coconut oil in here helps with that, although it does not really make it a drying soap. So it's not really too harsh on their skins. The cleansing value of this, the bubbly lather is 14, the cleansing is 11. So, and then I've superfatted it with 5% as well. The hardness is very low, conditioning is quite high, it's 71%. So it's actually a very nice conditioning soap without stripping too much oil and irritating the skin. So just burp your stick blender. Okay, we already got a thin trace here. I think I'm going to stop here. There we go. That's the thing with stick blenders. Oh my goodness, it makes life so much faster and easier. My next video after this one, I am going to make a soap, or I'm going to make soap but without a stick blender, so that just to show you guys that you can do it. It's not a requisite that you have to have a stick blender. You can do it without it. There are ways to get things going a little bit faster and so on. So you can definitely do that as well. This is tracing faster than usual, so I wonder if that is because of part of the stuff in my herbs that's actually making my soap tracing faster. It would be actually quite interesting because, oh well, essential oils, some of them do accelerate trace. So I believe herb tea can maybe do the same thing here. It's the first time that I use these herbs in soap. Or all together at least. Some of them I've tried before single and infused oils with them and so on. Usually if I infuse an oil with it, I like to make a salve because you can put it on your skin. It stays on your skin. It's not a wash off product, so it gives the herb some time to do its healing thing there. I'm just going to tap this one on the floor. Okay, there's a little bit of a texture on top, not too much. And there we go. Okay, so I will come back to you with the cut and show you, because it's just going to be a lovely single color caramel soap. I'm not going to insulate it. I think I'm going to try to prevent gel on this one. I like the light color. If I'm going to gel it, it's going to turn a little bit darker, and I actually prefer the lighter color on it. So I'll see you a little bit later. Okay, so we are back for the unmolding here. It's not much to see, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp these with a clear stamp without any mica, just to pretty it up a little bit more. Because if you want uncolored and unscented soap, there's not much you can do. I did texture the top a tiny little bit, not too much. Oh, I've put it in the fridge yesterday, but it still went through gel phase. So now I've got a partial gel here, which ain't a big issue. Soap is still soap. I would have just preferred it if it was just this nice creamy color all the way through. Okay, what I'm going to use is this is cutters that you use for fondant icing. So it's a lovely pattern here on here. So I'm not going to use any mica on it. I'm just going to use it straight as it is. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to tidy up the sides a bit. There's my sliver container. It's still very, very soft. I'm not sure if this is going to be a good idea to stamp it already. If you want to stamp your soap, test it on one side, see if it's going to stick or not. And if it's too sticky, just wait 24 hours longer. Try it again. This actually feels a bit too sticky to me, out of experience. Everything is really still sticky and squishy. So let's see. There's my alcohol. It's sticking to the table all over. We're going to try it two ways. I'm going to just spray some alcohol on the one side of the stamp and see how it goes. Come release. Okay, there we go. So we've got a lovely imprint here on the soap itself. There we go. Let's see without some alcohol on the other side. Reset a little bit and lift it. Okay, this actually works for me a little bit better. It's a much more defined pattern that we've got there. So I think I'm just going to stamp all of them without alcohol further. It does work with alcohol as well. Okay, and there we go. That is our herbal, uncolored, unscented soap. It's a very, very gentle soap. Nice little stamp work on it. So it actually distracts the eye a little bit from the gel ring in there. So stamping might be one of the ways that you can salvage it if you don't like the gel ring. I'm not really bothered by it, but some of the clients might be. So yeah, there we go. Happy soaping for you guys until I see you guys next time. Stay safe and keep well.